Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome and thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com. You're helping people around the world communicate for free. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please enter your PIN followed by the pound or hash. If you do, thank you. There are 7 participants in the conference. Please announce yourself.
Hi, this is Cynthia, and we are at the meeting, council meeting, and we're getting ready to go back into open session.
Entertain a motion to go back into open session.
Wilson. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This call will be recorded.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 9, discussion and possible motion concerning hiring a city administrator. Any additional discussion? Move on. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 10. Review and discuss some updated information on a couple of topics here. One being well and septic systems associated with QTS projects and the QTS laydown agreement. Chris or Brian are going to talk about some things.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, did any of the stuff make sense to start with? Or not?
Any questions about what was in the packet?
Or do you want a more fuller explanation of?
I would say a little more detailed, especially for people that are here to kind of understand exactly what's going on.
And would you go to the podium? Thanks, Brian.
Okay, so where this really started was as we were working on our well, and we had heard that the well driller was moving to the data center area to drill some more wells. That sparked my curiosity because we had talked with him and we were told there was no wells to be drilled over there. And so I reached out to DNR and coincidentally then after that the health department to see if they knew anything about what was going on. And DNR responded with they had nothing that they were looking at, nor was there anything in the queue to be addressed with any kind of wells. And then we reached out to the health department, and then one day they had said there was nothing that they were dealing with for any wells, and specifically it was deeper wells is what the question was. And so a couple days later, Chris was talking to him about something else, and then at that point they had said, yeah, we have something in the works about residential wells over there. And so then my thought was, what's a residential well? What's the difference? And knowing that the schedule, how does that make it any different than what we had to do that took us 2.5 years to get to where we were at? So then I started reaching out again, and that's when they started investigating what was going on, which, you know, I was just trying to get information, that's all I would do. Come to find out that the wells that are over there, the 40 that they're talking about are dewatering wells, so that is not necessarily as much of a concern because it's only drafting the water off of the top above the bedrock. And that's a common practice for construction. We've done it on some of our projects before, that's just what you gotta do, but now we're finding out that they're not permitted. I would assume the contractor should have known that because they do that a lot, but maybe it's just because of the area, because I know that one of the main contractors from up in Minnesota or something, so why they didn't, I don't know. But, wells, the deep wells, we were then told that there's, possibility of up to 3. And, one of them was going on the northern edge of the property that was already in the works. But at the time we heard about it during another meeting with the QTS people that, they were due to start drilling or moving in tomorrow, but they still hadn't had the permit yet. So that really got me confused, and so that was another reason to reach out and ask questions. Well, after we started finding out that there was that one that was already on the docket to be drilled, they said there was another one on the east edge of the property. And then there was one on the west edge of the property that was close to where we were at. And that's when Chris came up with the idea, hey, instead of you guys poking in a well that's either, which we're still not clear whether it was on our side of the fence or on the Cedar Rapids side of the fence. Maybe we try not to poke that one, and we offered them the ability to, which we discussed in another meeting, to extend the water over to them so that they wouldn't do that. And, our thoughts was twofold, one, we don't poke another, hole in the ground into an aquifer on an industrial site that's the closest to our water supply. Now, I know they have their ways of, plugging the wells and whatnot, but, the area that's there now and what's going in there now may not be hazardous now, but if they walk away at some point in 20, 30, 50 years, and something else comes in there with hazardous stuff that we can't control, our thought was one less hole in the ground, getting into our aquifers, better idea. And so that's why we offered, and then the second thing to that was that, to be able to do that, then we'd offer, or have, fire suppression abilities over there with it. And, so once we talked to them about that, that's when they come back and said, no, we don't wanna do that, cause it's gonna, affect our schedule, and it doesn't fit the schedule, and so they declined. And here we are today. So we're just getting some, feedback from the DNR that yes, they found those issues and they're apparently addressing them. They're supposed to be getting their permits and stuff, and they have, date of, I think, August 4th is their, deadline date to get all that done. So what we do from here, I don't know, but it's just concerning, so that's why I reached out just to get some information and finding out that things aren't happening like they were projected to be from the get-go.
Have we established the western well, if it actually is on our side of the 2080 agreement or on our?
So Cedar Rapids side, they provided us about 50 feet, maybe.
All 3 are,
There's only one in the deep well in the ground now,
and that's
2 more proposed.
and all are on Cedar Rapids side.
We're not quite sure that we do have a site plan from, is it Layton Corporation?
Leighton Construction.
Shows, one of them on our side that wasn't on the original document they provided to council when the discussions with them began. It was added, I don't know at what point, but it was never labeled as such. It's really hard to see unless you have a magnifying glass to see. It does say temp well.
Are these all going to be temporary wells?
That's what we're being told, is the 3 deep wells will be temporary wells capped. They're still all 3 on industrial sites, because Cedar Rapids site is also industrial zoned.
So is that something they can easily change later from a temporary to a permanent once the well's in place?
That would be a question for
Is that a
Brian.
DNR question?
Yes, and there's a whole lot of things involved with that too. We had an unrelated meeting and talked to our ISG engineering team. And one of those, it was a longtime DNR member. And so she had quite a bit of information to help, describe what was going on. And one of the concerns was with the well that they have drilled now, which is supposed to be for a concrete plant. Even if they don't go very deep, if they, get to 25,000 gallons a day, it's supposed to be a commercial well. Period. And that's a whole different permitting system, or it's supposed to be. And, that's the way they my understanding is the way, that's how they perceived it as going as a residential well. So it's a kind of a way to get around the system without having to do as much work. So whether those details come out, whether they fit into those details, I'm not 100% sure on that. But, they were not too happy after I told them that. Or at least she wasn't.
Brian, can you clarify where the 40 dewatering wells are located?
As far as I know, they are on the very north end of the property, and I don't know, I think it's all tied into both the Google and QTS. They were supposed to, they're basically following the Crandon Railroad tracks, I think. That's the lowest part of the site. Last winter, they made a crossing underneath the Prairie Creek and went through the Crandon Rail, and then this spring they started going west along the south side of the Crandon Rail Yard, the switch yard that's down there. And they're working their way up the bottom of the sewer line. That's what they need the dewatering for. And then the water lines themselves will be much shallower, so I don't think they'll need it for that, but they may still have it in there.
This is in Cedar Rapids.
In Cedar Rapids, yes.
And they don't have permits for any of that stuff, so the DNR is reviewing all that now because of the volume of discharge,
Yes.
right?
Yep. Their discharge is, what was it? It was way over 25,000 gallons a day, which is the number that they go off. So they have, I think they said 40 wells at 150 gallons a minute, 24 hours a day. So it was like 1.7 million per day that they're pumping out of the ground. Again, this is the shallower stuff that really doesn't affect the aquifer. I did a little bit of research this afternoon just to find out. And since they've been doing that, we have not had any effect on our static levels of the wells. So, which should be the case, but.
So is somebody gonna get back to you, Shane Dodge or someone else gonna get back to you about these 3 wells?
I believe so. Their last I got was that they were still investigating that part of it and that they were gonna update us when they get some more information after they get everything cleared up on what's going on over there in the site, because there was a lot of stuff going on.
When you say they, you mean DNR,
DNR, yes.
not Lynn County.
Right.
And it said something about there's 40 in there now, up to 75.
Yep, they'll probably end up having to go farther west to get everything installed, which I didn't, I mean, I knew they were there, but I assumed I wasn't terribly concerned about that at the time until the information of the drilling the deep well. And then it was like, well.
So, and maybe you can't even, you don't even want to venture a guess. 75, how does that affect the aquifer? Right now, the 40, you see it's not affecting the aquifer. You get up to 75, will that, and maybe that's not even a guess, you can't even guess.
My guess is that those 75 will not really affect the aquifer per se. Because again, that's the top layer, so basically the clay above the bedrock, which all the wells get cased through that and go into the bedrock, and that's where you get your water when you get to those aquifers. So we're only taking the water off the dirt, but the water in that dirt over years eventually does get down into the aquifer after it goes through all the bedrock and stuff, so. For 1 year of them taking water off, is it really gonna matter? No, because it takes several years for aquifers to recharge or the water to get from the surface down into the aquifer. And in our area, it's recharged from farther north of here. So it's essentially, not gonna help Johnson County, it's already got problems.
Where are they discharging this 1.7 million gallons per day into Prairie Creek?
Yes,
Without any DNR
exactly.
permits?
Yeah. So anything over the 25,000, they're supposed to monitor that and test it on a certain frequency. I'm not sure what that is, but they at least have to have some monitoring on that. And that was not being done, which they would have known that if they got the permits like they were supposed to.
So Lynn County didn't issue any of these permits?
Not for that either, no.
So it takes us 2.5 years to get a well permit. They are digging theirs legally and they're gonna magically have a permit in the next probably 48 hours. I wish I had that kind of money.
How does that
Just
work?
Skip every rule required and then maybe write a big check to somebody and then no one gives a shit.
That's what my biggest discouragement was. So that's why I tried to reach out because, I felt that that was my duty to be protecting the city as to what's actually going on and try to get some information and see if we can, protect our assets here. That's where we started with the original negotiations, was to protect our assets.
And our biggest concern is the westernmost well.
Yeah, on their property, yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And the two they haven't drilled.
One of them they said was on the eastmost property, and it's like, well, there ain't nothing we can do about that, because that's going all the way through your property, and originally they told us, yeah, we're just gonna bring Cedar Rapids water up here and use it. Well, apparently their scheduling is different than the original negotiations, so.
How long would it take for them to get water and hook up to us, to get water to them to solve all these problems?
Depends on the process. I mean, as long as they got the okay from Iowa Land and Building and or Lion or whoever's responsible for that property in between, I mean, we already gave them the okay to do it. It just, we kind of gave them an idea of what we'd like to see for piping to make sure that whatever they hook up, either hook up to our end of our system going forward, and what works best with the valves and stuff, so there's not a break or the pipe comes apart because it didn't fit correctly. I mean, they were talking about maybe plowing it in. Well, you can do like HDPE pipe and plow it in and it'll work, but they don't fit very well with the valves and stuff like that are necessary for a hydrant. And they don't work very well for tapping, so to get your water out of it, so.
Were you talking a couple weeks or?
Oh, maybe, yeah, if they had the pipe, however fast they can get the pipe, yeah, it wouldn't
take very long then.
No, I don't think so, but
So where's Cedar Rapids with their water? They're supposed to be servicing this whole development.
I think it's
That's
all,
what we were told.
I think it's all part of the same, the dewatering wells. They're coming through there to do the sewer first, and then they'll have to come back
Then
up.
the water.
And I'm assuming that's where it's going. I don't know how through the complex it's gonna go, but I'm assuming that's, in the same general area, they'll bring it in and then, split it off around the property, however they're looking to do fire and stuff, so. But yeah, they were supposed to be getting it up there, and that's why we originally talked about no wells. And then. Now, granted, they're not gonna be a big production wells that are bigger than ours, and they're gonna suck the aquifer down, but,
Do we know that for sure?
well.
If
Not
they can't get water over there, do we know that really?
Not 100%, but the information I had was they're anywhere between 200 and 250 foot deep. We're 530, so they're not as, I don't know, I wouldn't say big, diameter wise. I think they're just like a regular, maybe slightly larger residential well, but means they're not going as deep. They don't, they're not testing the water for water quality. They're just using it for construction. So as long as they have the amount of volume they need per minute to get out of it, I think that's all going.
Well, the other wells they'll have to test because they're planning on using that for residential, is what we were told.
Yes, the construction trailers and then some of that, they could be
Yes,
testing it.
that should be tested water for residential use.
I hope that-
But the permits would reflect the depth of the wells that they're digging.
Yes, they take very good information on the wells, so. Those should become public knowledge and we could find out anything we wanna find out about it when it does become available.
And they know the offer's still on the table that they could use our water, they can hook up to it in actually 2 weeks. It's still
Believe
there
so.
for that
That'd be Chris.
possibility.
Joanne was talking to them on that.
They declined and we formed an email back to them and said we still would like to talk to them about that, if there was a possibility to fit it into their schedule. And I did call that Lagwig today, the Layton construction person, and he said their plan, as Brian has been discussing, is to connect to the Cedar Rapids water, and that's why they have all the dewatering wells.
So maybe they're figuring out a way to expedite it, but we won't have any return information that would help mitigate the questions yet, so.
Why connect to Fairfax when they can just dig wells without repercussion?
That's the question. But over that kind of timeline and how it all happened and
So Brian and Chris have been very instrumental in gathering information on this process, and that's really appreciated. What's the next step, Brian, in your opinion?
try to keep reaching out to get more detailed information on what's going on, make sure that nothing's gonna affect our ability or do whatever we can between using the DNR if we can, how, you know, they're always there for us, or at least that's what they keep telling us when we take our classes and stuff, so. If there's anything that they're not doing, that they should be doing, and, I mean, I'm not trying to go over there and police them by any means, I got plenty of other things. Big things that may affect us in the long run, that was kind of a hard thing to try to go after, so.
Can you find out if they put in if they get a temporary well permit, what the longevity of that is? I mean, is that something where it could be in there, the temporary could be there for 10 years?
I can try.
And
to
then
find out.
temporary somehow becomes permanent by. You know,
Yeah, and another question I was gonna ask them is if they have different procedures for capping the wells in industrial areas, so when they are done, do they do something different to help protect the aquifer better? Or is it the same procedure, whether it's a residential well in the country versus the industrial area, so I was gonna, but yeah, I can check into that.
Brian, earlier today, did you say there are concerns with all those dewatering wells that they don't cap those? And so that rock stays in place and the water getting into the aquifer through there? Did I understand that right?
That's my belief, yes, as I recall for some of the stuff that we did, once they put the drill, pound the casing in, however it is, drill or pound it, then they fill the inside with the pump and the rock, so the water comes in, pump, sends it out. And then when they're done, they just pull the casing out, the rock stays in there, and then they just cover the hole up with dirt and move on. So I don't believe there's anything special with those. Here again, they're only 20, 30 feet deep into dirt. So,
Well, which then goes into the Prairie Creek, which then goes into
Yes.
Cedar River.
yes, so
These are industrial sites.
it's a little bit more of a, easier way for the surface water to get down into the ground deeper faster, depending on how many they have. Now, maybe there's something different down there that they're doing, again, with an industrial area, but I know that's not how it happened around here, but this was all field / creek area that was not gonna be built into industrial stuff, as the examples I had from around here.
Also, do you have any other questions for Brian or Chris? This was a discussion topic and to keep the council informed.
Yeah, I guess I would like to make a comment about Brian going, in my mind, above and beyond in his job to stay on this and not ignore it and keep bringing it back, because this is really important, you know. So, what, a month and a half into this project and we're already seeing this kind of stuff, so it's concerning.
Nice job, fellas.
Thank you. Continue to do it. Okay,
Any emails you get to, I mean, send emails out, just obviously this is gonna be not happening here the next however many days, but
sure.
just keep us posted, please.
Sure, yeah, we'll do, after we start getting some more information, I can just include everybody in the group so that it's not, going 17 different ways, so.
Yeah.
We'll do, no problem.
Also on your packet on a separate topic, there were some questions regarding within the development agreement, what the signage commitment was and the commitment on 76th Avenue and Williams Boulevard. And you'll see an email from Scott Lightweight Construction, hopefully clarifying that. Did you,
yeah, it's highlighted red.
so that email just came in today, so if you didn't look at the packet today, you may not have seen that.
What does it say for the residents?
Do you have it on the flash drive that you can pull it up?
Sure.
Cause it's pretty involved, it wasn't a short answer.
maybe.
You have it?
Mhm.
So the first concern that's addressed in the email, it's a chip seal coordination. And, Scott and our, maintenance supervisor, Lynn Miller, have had conversations about that and agreed that they should wait until Prairie Road Builders was done on Southwood. And then further, Lynn suggested that they wait until he returns from vacation. But Layton says they're ready to go. And I guess we do need council guidance on that. Do you want them to wait till until Layton comes back, or do you want them to start working?
When's he back next week?
2 weeks,
Yeah,
first week of August.
First two dollars.
what's your preference?
Is it critical that it gets done right now compared to 2 weeks from now?
It's more a temperature thing,
Yeah.
so as long as they do it in August, it should be fine.
Well, so another thing to consider, they have Edgewood closed right now. And so they're forcing everybody to go a different way. And we had call in to ask if we could get a few extra trucks to use the truck route over this way, even though they told them not to. And it was like a 1 day thing. And so, yeah, we said it's fine to do that. But if they decide that somebody's gonna decide to do that, well, then you're gonna start putting a bunch of trucks on the brand new stuff here. So I don't know how long they're planning on doing the Edgewood closures. Yeah, it sounds like they're putting a turn lane in, so I'm not sure. It just started
Edgewood
Monday.
and 76, you mean, or?
No, it's in the middle of Edgewood between 60th and 76th, I think, where I'm assuming.
Kind of more closer to the Google site?
Yeah, I think so. It's southbound lane. Be a right turn into the complex there, but why they're shutting the whole road down, it might be just for safety, I don't know, but.
But if there's additional damage to that road caused by those trucks, they pay to have it.
They have to fix it
Done.
anyway before they put the seal coat down, so I'm thinking if they do it, it'd be better to do it now before they. Cause they still gotta fix it up to a certain level before they can put this coat over the top, so.
But Lynn asked after vacation, right?
I guess I didn't know
That's my
about that.
understanding.
So why does he wanna be here to just make sure they do it correctly?
Possibly, yeah, and I was not aware of that, but it was a possibility still.
The original concern came because the development agreement called for them doing this process within 30 days of the signed agreement. And so we're a little bit beyond that now.
So again, we were just checking to find out what's going on. That's.
So council guidance. They can start now or they can wait till Lynn gets back.
I think if Lynn's wanted, wait, everyone's okay with that, I'm good with that.
Yeah, wait, I agree. Unless Mary Ann wants to supervise the vote.
I could, but I got enough to do.
Just think about that.
Road building.
Then the second topic was the signage on 76th Avenue. Try to make sure that trucks were not coming through the middle of Fairfax unnecessarily. And, so you see Scott's response there. Delayed due to a combination of resource constraints and evolving design needs. Apparently there's another project they're trying to get done too. But anyway, Brian went out and checked and appears that they are working on it.
Yeah, I don't know, Lynn put well, it's in the packet, which ones were whatever, and there was a lot of them that were missing, but as of last Wednesday and today, this morning, there was a lot of them that were there, some of them were not worded the same, but it was the same idea, so not terribly concerning there. There was a lot of signs out there, but there was one that probably should have been up and needs to be up, and that's the one that goes from 76 westbound, and then we would turn right to go towards downtown Fairfax. And it was supposed to say no construction traffic. And there was like 4 signs on that corner, and there was not any of them on that corner. And they're really not doing any work around there, but avoid them coming into the town. You know, that was the biggest one for us. The rest of them were out on like the county gravels and stuff, and we don't have any control over that. Some of them were there, they were just laying in the ditch or upside down. Just not standing up like they were supposed to be, so.
Again, as part of the development agreement, there, one of the exhibits included in that showed where the signage was to go. So,
So the majority of the signs were up, just the important ones are not important to us.
So we just send them an ask them.
well, they're saying they're still working on it, so I guess
That's the answer we get.
Brian can,
Yeah, we
Keep an eye on it.
Brandon goes up there through there twice a week anyway, so. You can stick him on it if we're not out and about.
pardon me,
Yeah.
right? Those are the two, agreement concerns. Any other questions for Brian or Chris on any of that? So as far as that agreement is concerned, Cynthia and I have already talked about the financial considerations within that agreement. In that some of them are a couple years down the road. And Cynthia has a plan in place so that if she's not in place, the a future clerk would know when to expect that money to be sure that we get that money. Anything else on any of those topics, council? We do have several community members here. The way we handle our council meetings is we do allow community feedback after topic discussions. If you come to the podium and tell us who you are, and then you have a 7-minute limitation if anybody wants to talk about either of those two topics. If not, thank you for being here tonight and listening to us. That moves us on to mayor's comments. I have nothing additional other than to thank everyone for this long evening. Cynthia, do you have anything to add?
Just watch your emails, because I'll reach out to the applicants and let you know if they're availability, because if they're not, then back the plan.
Okay. Need a motion to adjourn, please.
So
Second.
All in favor?
I.
Thank you.